Sorry, I was doing a quick test there. What's up, Ron? How you doing?
Yeah, KB2UKA at WB2RON. Yeah, fine, Doug. Yeah, you were on AM. Sounded good.
Yeah, I gotta build an AM profile. I just wanted to hear how this one sound. This is just my 4K. I wanted to hear how it sounded on AM, so I recorded it real quick.
Okay, yeah, just listening. Yeah, I watched your YouTube. By the way, I didn't turn the amp on. Hopefully you're hearing me okay. I watched the YouTube video from last night a couple of times. Yeah, it was great. It was very nice. You did that really nice.
Yeah, it's fun to do. I started doing it back in 2020 when I ran. It was right before I even got into all the audio stuff. I ran into Whiskey 7 Hotel United, Alex, down near Miami. And he was calling CQ on 20 meters, and I answered him, and he said, go to my YouTube page, and you can hear and see your signal report. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So I figured out how to do it, and I've been perfecting it ever since. Yeah, I have some how-to videos up there and whatnot, but I just try to. The page is pretty much all audio related. KB2UKA. Let me just put my power back. There we go. 1, 2. Yeah, and I hear you fine. You're like 5859.
All right, stand by. I just want to get pure signal with the amp. Stand by. Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, I'm going to run the amp anyway, so I'm running about 1,200 watts here now. Yeah, it was great. Steve, boy, I keep forgetting his call sign. Up in New Hampshire, I think he's up in New Hampshire. K1.
Check.
Boy, I can't forget. Remember, he's done that a couple of times also, and so it was always interesting. But you were getting me and Richie and Rick very strong. So it was a great video. By the way, I also enjoyed another one of yours where you were actually in the video itself, off on the corner. It was interesting watching you. So I got a chance to see what you look like and. See you in operation there. Was that I found pretty cool to see that.
Oh yeah, I do that a lot too. I put the camera on when the shack is clean and I'm presentable. And then I have some other like how-to videos where I do like an intro where I'm not in front of the radio and I'm just facing the camera. And then that lets me practice my video editing skills and all that. So it's just a blast, and I'm able to combine a bunch of different hobbies into one. It's great. Yep. And Steve, K1GMM. Well, he's another one. He's the reason. His YouTube channel is the reason I got into audio. Because I was laying in bed one night. I had taken a 7-year break from the hobby. I bought a ICOM 7300. And then a few months, this early 2020, and then a few months back in, I picked up a used Flex 5000. And I started hearing, some of these guys are my friends now. Art, Art, N4QNT. I speak to Art daily. I started hearing him, and I'm like, wow, this guy sounds really good. And then I Googled, I YouTube searched ham radio and audio, and Steve's essb rack video popped up on how he does essb, and he had this rack with all this equipment and the lights were shining, and that was it. I was hooked. I bought an Aphex 204 and an EQ that night.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I know. I've watched a bunch of his videos, and there's a similarity that I noticed between your audio and his on YouTube. I mean, they both sound fantastic. You both have that that emphasis in the real deep bass that just comes across phenomenally on YouTube. Of course, I use these Sony 75, what is it, 7506, something like that, headphones, and they have just a beautiful sound to them, and especially in the deep bass. And listening to you and Steve, it's just can't be beat. It's just phenomenal on YouTube. So it actually adds to the enjoyment. It really does. Hearing that great audio come through, it's just amazing what you guys are doing, and just. When I watched it yesterday, it just said, wow, modern technology is so cool for amateur radio. This is not something we ever thought of going back 30, 40, 50 years. Back then it was just, the art of communicating and talking to somebody, and, regardless of the audio, we didn't think that much about it. But, amateur radio is really expanded so much, and especially in the audio aspect, and that's the part that was always interesting to me. I don't know, I was just always intrigued by high-quality audio, starting from the late 60s when I bought my first pair of acoustic research loudspeakers. That's way before your time, but I said, wow, so this is what hi-fi is about, and I've been kind of into it ever since. So it's a great way to... the fact that you can combine hobbies now is just great, and just adds so much to everything. So we're very lucky right now with everything we can do. Yeah, I know Art, N4QRT. Of course, Steve is, that's who I was talking about with his... I was another fellow I was talking to, but he's not really a hi-fi guy. I can't remember his name. He's a strange guy. He's on sideband, and I think his name is Mike. And I was talking to him one day, and he said, "Hey, Ron, turn on YouTube. You're going to see a live feed of us talking." So I turned it on, and there he was, and I said, "Yeah, I see it." And then he waved to me, and it was virtually real time. I guess it was a few seconds delayed, but not much at all. And that was the first time I was actually ever noticed, realized that you could do something with YouTube and amateur radio at the same time. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. Strange guy. He was a professional cameraman, very, very intelligent, but he'll go on there and call CQ, and he'll say something like, I only want to talk to college-educated operators. If you don't have a degree, don't bother to answer my call. So I just thought that was strange. Anyway, back to you, Doug. KB2UKA from WB2RON.
Oh, yeah. That's... That I'm surprised. Yeah, I thought they were going to pull his license, and but my buddy actually heard it. That's W4DOG, the dog. I think that's who you're talking about. He's a 7200 guy also. Yeah, so sometimes he'll come on and he'll be very respectful, and other times he's way out there. But yep, I know who you're talking about. You know what surprises me, something that you said, like this essb stuff, from my research, it appears it started to become very popular in the late 90s, maybe even later, maybe like the early 2000s. That's when like the quote unquote pioneers, NU9N, N7CAL, all those guys started really getting into it, and the Voodoo Audio and all of that. I'm surprised, especially with the AM crowd, if you go back to like the mid 70s all the way through the 80s, I'm surprised a lot of those guys didn't go complete psycho with audio like I am now back then. Considering these AM stations were all getting the Optimods back then, it was all about, and I mean the broadcast, the professional stations, it was all about what station was louder, what station was loudest but could maintain the cleanliness of the signal. And I know there probably were a handful of AM guys doing that, but I feel like today there's more guys doing the ESSB or just trying to have really good fidelity audio than there were then on AM. KB2UKA.
Yeah, something, I think you're right. Of course, I do listen to AM a lot. I don't jump in that much because a lot of the discussion is about, vintage equipment, tube equipment, and, that's great and all, because I am familiar with that. In fact, when I went to college back in the late 60s, I actually took a course on vacuum tubes. So, I'm familiar with the technology and so forth, and I grew up with that. And it's interesting, but since I have no interest in operating that way anymore, if I go on AM, it's strictly SDR. I really don't follow those conversations anymore, and there's just a lot of it, especially on 40 meters. Yeah, I know what you're saying. By the way, the station I'm talking about is not the OG, it's WA4D, but I think I have heard him on 7200 when you mentioned that, because I don't listen to that. I just don't. But when I heard about 7200, I tuned in there one day, and I think he was there. I'm almost sure he was. Anyway, let me get back to my regular page here. So, do you know K2WS Alan, by any chance? He's a ESSB operator. I'm wondering if you know him. He's located here in Wading River. His name is Alan, and it's K2WS. I'm wondering if you know him.
I just looked him up. I've spoken to him a handful of times, definitely once or twice in the last 6 months. Trying to remember where I would run into him. I think I ran into him right around here. Does he get on 54 sometimes?
No, never. I got him on here once, but, because I told him I hang out here a lot. So I got him on here one day, but no, he doesn't come here. I think he does operate on the extra part of 75 meters. I know there's a group down there that operate ESSB, and I think he's part of that. And he tunes around a lot. Usually when he hears me, he'll jump in and join the queue. So, but he's a local to me. He's only 3 miles away from me, and he taught me a little bit about this stuff too. I had a Flex 1000, and the way I ran into him was interesting. I had a Flex 1000. That's what I started with, an SDR. And it drifted. It took about 10 or 15 minutes for it to settle down. And so I did a little search on the internet to see if I could find anything about that. And there was an article from 2005 that talked about an oven-controlled crystal oscillator for Flex 1000. I said, that's just what I need. So I looked up the call sign. It turned out he lived 3 miles from me. So I went over to visit him, and he had an extra one. He had an extra oscillator that he still had. And, I got it from him and installed it in my Flex 1000. It was great. And then it became absolutely rock stable. So that's how I ran into him. And he, operates ESSB. He kind of got me into it. And that's how I wound up with this Focusrite, because that's what he used. But I was just curious if you knew him, since you were talking about ESSB. Back over to you, Doug.
Yeah, not well as I know you and Richie, and it's been a handful of times, and I'm looking here. Yeah, he's one of. I'm just on his QRZ. He's one of the original ESSB guys, because he talks about John in his description here, NU9N, and then he goes on to say that there's audio clips of him on John's website. So John only has like the original guys on that website. So yeah, he's been doing this quite some time. Man, that's one radio, Ron, I wish I never sold, not the 1000, but the 5000. It was a great, great radio. And there's actually an adaptive pre-distortion mod that I believe these guys in Greece figured out that's floating around. And I didn't learn that till after I sold it. If I ever see one of those for sale, I might pick it up again.
Yeah, it was a great radio. I was going to, speaking about the 5000, I had the 1000, and I was going to upgrade to the 5000. But then they came up with this software from KE9NS, Nancy Sugar. that was adaptable to the 3000 and 5000 and the 1500, not the 1000. But there was a Russian software engineer who adapted it for the 1000. So I downloaded it and installed it, and I said, wow, this software is really cool, really great. And it just gave me so many more features than the original SDR. And I saw why a lot of the guys were keeping their 5000s because of this KE9NS software. Perhaps you're familiar with it. So I wound up keeping the 1000 for 12 years, way past its technological lifetime. But I'm glad I did that, because by that time they came out with the Anon 7000, so I went right to the 7000. But the 5000 was for a long time was the best buy in amateur radio. Of course, that's probably now the Hermes Light 2. Back to you, Doug.
I used that. I used to use the software with the 5000, Power SDR, he called it. And it's it's very similar to Thetis. And what's Thetis built on? What was that? Was that HP SDR, I think? So that was the original body for Thetis, and I think that's what Power SDR is built on as well. I have this Flex 6600 sitting here. I've had it out of the box since September, and I bought it because I wanted to try doing audio with it, and it can't compare to this Anon. It just can't. No matter what I did, I can't get it to sound as good. I wanted to see if I could get it to sound better, and I can't. So I think right now I just use it for digital. It's a $5,000 thing that I'm using for FT8. I think I'm going to sell it. It's in mint condition. I think I'm going to get rid of it.
Yeah, okay. I see a carrier in there. Hold on. Somebody's probably tuning up. Maybe they can join us. Okay. Very interesting. Speaking of FT8, we'll go on to that subject. I was doing a lot of FT8 the last couple of months. I actually stopped about 2 weeks ago because kind of ran into a brick wall. Just a quick rundown. I don't know if you use what software you're using or what your goals or what you're doing with FT8, but what really got me going in it was this, hold on a second, I can't remember this stuff. What is this called? Grid Tracker. When I got this Grid Tracker software, I used it in conjunction with WSJTX, I think it is. That just opened up FT8 because I'm sure you're probably familiar with it. I won't go into an explanation unless I don't know to what extent you use FT8. But I got to the point where I got DXCC and WAS on 10, 12, 15, 17, 20, 30, and 40. Except I only have 48 states on 40. I'm missing Hawaii and Alaska. And my antenna is very low to the ground. It's only about 25 or 30 feet up, and I'm having trouble getting DX on 80 meters. Maybe it's conditions, too. I don't know when it's optimum. But anyway, let me go back to you, Doug. What is your, what do you do with FT8? What do you look? What have your goals been?
I think I have a love-hate relationship with it. I find that over the last couple of years, this is where I am. I'm on 80 or 40. I don't even go and call CQ that often anymore on the upper bands, though I can. I'm running a doublet, and this doublet's up at 60 feet and works marvelous. 20, 17, 15, 12, 10. It's a big performer up there, and I just don't do it. So every now and then I'll use FT8, and lately I've been using the Flex. So I use all the I use the Flex software on the iMac, and all the tools are built in. So I don't need any third-party software. I just click FT8. The radio changes to the FT8 mode. I click what band I want, and I click start. And it just starts calling CQ, and it auto-logs everything in the software. So it makes it very, very simple. I was trying to get a couple other awards on QRZ. I do it for like 3-4 weeks at a time. I'll even let it run when I'm not here because I can control it from my iPhone or my iPad on the Flex. And then I get bored of it. And that's why I think I'm just going to sell the darn thing. I've never had it set up on the Anon. I hear it's kind of complicated, but if I ever want to do it, maybe I'll set it up on the Anon. I haven't even been logging that much. I've got Log4OM. I don't think I've had the thing open in 6 months.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did use it on the Anon. It is a pain, and I didn't like it. So I said, well, I wonder if the 7300 is easier to use. It was a breeze on the 7300. It's designed for FT8. They have an FT8 mode in there. So I do all my any FT8. I have both radios right next to me, right in front of me, and I have an antenna switch, and I can just switch to the 7300 instantly, and it's real easy on the 7300. So I don't even bother with the Anon. There are no advantages whatsoever, and it's a big pain to use. So that's what I do. You did mention the 7300 earlier in the queue, so I'm wondering if you still have it. So that's what I've been doing. When I go on there, I use the 7300. Does your software tell you what countries the stations are? Does it tell you whether you've worked them before or not? Does it allow you to just receive those stations and alert you to stations or countries or zones or states that you haven't worked? Does it do all of that? Because Grid Tracker does all of that.
It does all of that, and Smart SDR for the Mac, and Smart SDR again is the Flex software. It's got Grid Tracker built in. It's got hold on, let me see. Let me load it up here. Give me 1 second. What am I doing? Oh, I've got one keyboard on top of the other keyboard. That's why this isn't working. All right, well, I've got this boom arm, so I guess I can move the mic. There we go. I'm not going to start up the Flex, but I'm going to start up the software. And the tools that it comes with, Smart SDR. Okay, Smart SDR tools. I've got FT8, I've got PSK, I've got RTTY, I've got HF Fax, CW Decoder, Logbook, PSK Reporter, Grid Tracker, POTA Tracker, DX Cluster. Like, people could say whatever they want about Flex Radio. They've got this is all in one software, Ron. All of that. And literally, if I'm talking to you right now on 3854 and I go click FT8, it'll move my VFO directly to the FT8 frequency. It'll set the entire radio up to transmit FT8 with the click of a button.
Yeah, okay. Well, WSJTX with Grid Tracker does do that. So I just select what band I want on the screen, and it shifts the radio. The radio is connected to the computer, and it does do all of that. Okay, so basically it sounds like it's doing similar things to what the Grid Tracker and WSJTX does, but it's already included with the smart, I think you said Smart Tools, SDR. That's great. I wish Anon would do that, but they're probably not going to do that. I should say Thetis. I wouldn't think they're going to do that. They're more focused on the radio performance than they are that sort of thing. So yeah, I got to give it to the Flex. That's terrific that they do that. Of course, it's important. It makes a world of difference when operating FT8 that you have something like that.
Yeah, it really does. And I'm sure using it with the 7300, it's just point and click also once you go into the software. And no, I don't have that anymore either. Like I said, when I started back in 2020, I bought a 7300. 6 months later, I sold it, and I bought the Flex 5000. 6 months later, I sold that, and I bought a Sun SDR 2DX, which I actually thought it was a great radio. And then these guys, the Russian guys that run the company, they came out and they said, the radio is capable of pure signal. You'll have it in a year. And they started this whole new build of new software. It was called version 3. And a year went by, no pure signal. 2 years went by, no pure signal. And then it came out that the radio actually cannot support adaptive pre-distortion. The hardware is not in it. So that's when I bought the Anon. So I've had the Anon since July of 2022. But man, the front end on the Sun SDR, the receiver was a beautiful, beautiful receiver. They're going to definitely fail. Everyone is selling them. Everyone's selling them and buying a Hermes.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Alan, K2WS, actually designed a board for adaptive pre-distortion to use on the Flex 6500. But he was having problems getting it working on the higher bands. And he spent a lot of time with that, and he finally gave up on it. But he could use it on 80 and 40 with his 6500. So, yeah, he's a smart guy. He was able to do that. And I know Flex never did it, but he did it. And but for whatever reason, he couldn't get it to work on the higher bands, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because it's just digital. I mean, once you're in the SDR, once you're in the SDR domain, you know, it's all digital, and it shouldn't matter. But I think what happened was there is some RF. Of course, you have the feedback portion, so there is some RF involved, and I think that's where he must have had the problem, because I wouldn't think there'd be a problem in the digital side. So, all very interesting. Did you ever use the I'm just curious. I forgot what you said. Did you ever use the KE9NS software when you had the 5000?
Oh, yeah, that's all I used. And it was called Power SDR, and it was very similar to Thetis.
Right. You mentioned that. That's right. Okay. All right, well, very good, very interesting. Well, that's, there's so much to this stuff that we can do, and it's all a lot of fun. Anyway, Doug, I'm going to stand by. We'll see who else comes on here. I did see another station tuning up, and maybe somebody else wants to get on this frequency. But, again, I appreciate what you did last night. That YouTube video was very interesting. So, anyway. All right, we'll say 73, and we'll talk to you in a little while. KB2UKA, unless you have something else. This is WB2RON on the side.
I think, Ron, it's good timing. My wife, so my daughter's starring in a new show called Mean Girls. She got the lead. We live in Fort Salonga, which is basically, we're on the Smithtown side. So, we're at the end of the Sunken Meadow Parkway, pretty much before the beach, if you go north all the way. And her show is in Syosset. So the theater's in Syosset. And her rehearsals are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 5 to 7 p.m. So she gets home from school at 3:45. And then I work in Huntington. My office is in Huntington Village. I get to work at 7:30. I leave at 2:00 every day. I have a really good schedule. So I'm home early. Unless I have a late appointment, then I'll stay later. So I drive from Huntington back to Fort Salonga. I get my kids from school at 3:30. I bring them home. Everyone shoves food down their throat. My wife then has to get in the car with her and drive her from Fort Salonga to Syosset. My wife should be walking in the door any second right now because she had to be dropped off at 5. Then at 6:20, I will get in the car now, and I will drive to Syosset to pick her up at 7, and then I won't be back home till probably like 7:30, 7:40. So so this is good timing. I want to edit a video. I'm going to upload it, and then I'll go up and hang out with my wife before I have to go back west. So I'll talk to you soon. I'll listen out. KB2UKA.
Oh, wow. You have some busy schedule there, Doug. Very good. Well, that's nice that you can have that much involvement with your family and do all of that. So very nice. That's very nice. All right. We'll talk to you later. It sounds like you said you're going to load this up. Okay. Well, I'll take a listen to this, too, if it's up there. 73, and we'll catch you later. KB2UKA, WB2RON is clear.
All right, take care. Yep, this one wasn't live. I was just recording it, so I'm just going to edit it a little bit, cut it in some places. It'll be up there in a few hours. When you go to my page, Ron, hit the subscribe button, and then you'll get notified whenever I upload videos too. Take care. Have a great night. KB2UK clear.
Okay, Doug, thanks. That's good advice. I'm definitely going to do that. Talk to you later.
Looks like I'm a little late to the party.